All right, guys, welcome to day 5, the final day of the 5-day first chapter challenge. If you guys are just tuning in now, you're going to want to go back and start on day 0 because that is where this challenge begins. This is the last day. You won't want to start here, but it is also where you'll be able to download the worksheets so that you can do this 5-day first chapter challenge with us and really work on your own first chapter. Now, very important, I am joined today by my sweet orange associate Pumpkin Pie, who is taking a nap on the job. He is not going to pass his next performance review is actually what's going on. But anyways, thank you so much for being here, you guys. Subscribe to this channel if you haven't already. And if you guys are ready to talk about day 5, which is all about anticipation, then grab a cup, cozy up, and let's get to writing. All right, guys, so if you have been following me for any length of time, you probably know that I believe in these 3 pillars of really what I call magnetic writing. And it's emotion, immersion, and anticipation. So emotion is why we read. We've talked about that quite a bit actually during this 5-day challenge, is that we read because we want to feel. We want to have a connection to the character. We want to feel the thrill of suspense. We want to feel the love of the romance. If we aren't able as authors to get that feeling across, then readers will not stay with us. They will not come pick up our next book if they didn't feel anything in the last one. So emotion is the first pillar. Immersion is the second pillar, which is what I just call good writing. Immersion is the ability to put in realistic details, make the reader feel like they're there, like there's things that they're learning that they didn't even know, but it's also about having that in balance with the other 2, right? We can't just have all details all the time. We definitely have to have a plot that's moving forward. We have to have characters who matter, but the details of those character personalities and parts of the world that are so beautiful that it just makes your reader want to weep inside. That is the immersion factor, and that is really just what I consider good writing, is getting the story across in a way that feels real. The last of the 3 pillars is anticipation, and that is the one we're really going to be looking at today because that is what keeps your reader flipping the pages. It's that forward looking as they are, of course, looking forward to what comes next. They either don't know what's going to come next and they're like super excited to find out, or they do know what's going to come next and they're just super excited to witness it. It's that moment after your character has strived to win this competition through the entire book and they finally do, and you get to see them walk up on that stage and claim the trophy that they worked so hard for. Or it's the moment where you absolutely know the 2 characters are going to fall in love. There's really no mystery about it, but you finally get to see it happen, and you just get to finally see that one cute little kiss before the story's over. You have that anticipation because you know it's coming and you just can't wait to see it. So the bottom line is just that the 3 magnetic pillars of good writing are emotion, which we really worked on quite a bit this week. Immersion, which we actually really worked on quite a bit as well, especially on that world building day when we were talking about getting all of those details in, but doing it through action. And then today we're talking about how to do anticipation, which for the sake of this first chapter challenge is what sort of anticipation are we building into the reader so that they want to go on and read chapter 2. Because this is critical, you guys. If they don't know anything about what is coming up in chapter 2, they're not going to be looking forward to it. And if you're not looking forward to something, you may not flip the page and start the next chapter. We really need to make sure that they have a reason to want to go on to the next one. So, yesterday we were talking about first lines. This one is actually really focused almost on last lines, which, that's not the only source of anticipation. But if you were to leave on a cliffhanger at the end of chapter 1, everybody's going to want to go on and read chapter 2, which doesn't mean that you have to end on a cliffhanger. You can build anticipation tons of other ways. If we have monsters chasing our character in the first chapter, and we know that in the second chapter, we're going to find out what happens. Either she's going to get away, or the monsters are going to catch her, or she's going to pull off some miraculous feat. We don't know, but we're excited to see. Now, of course, not every story has murders and monsters. If you're looking at that cute, cozy romance in Christmas Town, the thing that might get us from chapter 1 to chapter 2 is that our main female character character sees that handsome man she's been pining after outside, and she makes the decision that she's just gonna go take her lunch break right now and just mosey on past him. And that's the end of chapter 1. We know that chapter 2 is gonna have some sort of meeting between the two of them, and if we're looking forward to it, then we will go on to read chapter 2. Or maybe we have a high school character and chapter 1 is her on the bus to the biggest volleyball tournament of her entire life, and it's so stressful. She's like super excited, she's so competitive, she's gotta win, and at the end of chapter 1 she opens up to her gym bag and realizes she left her shorts at home. Guess what? You're gonna read chapter 2. You have to know what's gonna happen. Is she even gonna be able to play? Is one of her friends gonna save the day? What's gonna happen? As long as you build up that tension in chapter 1, where it's clear that this tournament is the most important moment of her life, the moment when you realize she doesn't have her gym shorts is gonna be like, what's she gonna do? And you will go on and read chapter 2. So we're gonna go ahead and take a look at what our homework is today. So what these are just questions about how you have led into the next chapter. What kind of foreshadowing have you done? How excited are your readers? And are they gonna want to keep reading when they get to the end of this chapter? So our first question is, how has the next chapter been foreshadowed? So like I said, guys, it's important that your readers at least have some expectation of what is coming up next, because we need them to look forward to it. Remember, that anticipation is what keeps them flipping pages, as they're either saying, oh my gosh, what's gonna happen? Or they're saying, I'm so excited to see, I know what's gonna happen and I'm just excited to see it. All right, I just gotta show you guys this. Pumpkin, you're so distracting. Anyways. Let's see. Next question is, what is the reader looking forward to most in chapter 2? So this is a little bit different from question 1. You know, that was like, what kind of foreshadowing have you done? This is, what specifically are they going to be the most excited about? Yes, hello. And you know, if it is that volleyball tournament, the most exciting part is like, what is this girl gonna do about the missing gym shorts? And if it's the romantic character, they're super excited to see them meet. So they may have an inkling of what is coming up, but not necessarily be excited about it. You know, maybe we know that in chapter 2, your character is going to work or going to school. That is not the same as getting a reader excited about what's coming. Knowing what's coming and being excited are definitely gonna be two different things. Let's see. So what is the most exciting part of chapter 2, and does the reader know to expect it? So this is really a follow-up on the previous question. So when I said, what's the reader looking forward to most? Now I want you to ask yourself, because you know what's in chapter 2. The reader doesn't while they're reading chapter 1. But what is the most exciting part of chapter 2? And is there a way that we could get that across to the reader in chapter 1 so that they know that's coming? Because as the author, if you know that the most exciting part of chapter 2 is that female main character is going to meet the love of her life, but that is not foreshadowed in chapter 1, then the reader's not excited about it. If they just know that she's going outside on a walk, but they haven't seen Mr. Handsome outside, they don't know that he's there, they don't have anything to be excited about. So just that little detail of adding in that she knows he's out there and she's purposefully going out to kind of mosey past him, just getting that in there gives the reader enough of an excitement boost that they know, oh, they're definitely going to meet. Whereas if we didn't have that, and they just know she's going on a walk, we don't really get excited because a character's going out on a walk. We do get excited if we know she's meeting Mr. Handsome outside. The next question is, what is the reader looking forward to the most throughout the entire book? And I will give a disclaimer on this. It is possible that this is not going to be something that is known quite yet in chapter 1, and that's because the inciting incident hasn't always happened yet in chapter 1. So we may still be just living a part of the character's life. We may not actually know what the main story is yet. So it's actually okay if you don't have an answer to this, but if you do, if it's like my book where in chapter 1 you know that this girl has lost her memory, at that point in time at least, the most important part to the reader is knowing that Allie is going to be searching for her memories throughout the course of the story, and that there are monsters on her tail who are specifically after her. They do know that in chapter 1, and so that is something to look forward to in the overall story. As things progress, they look forward to other sorts of things, but as of chapter 1, that is the main thing that they are looking forward to. Next question is, does the reader have anything to root for by the end of chapter 1? And this is really important. Now remember when we were talking about emotions, if you developed a strong connection between your reader and your characters, they should want something for that character. And if they want something for them, then they have something to root for. And that could be rooting for the bad guy to get taken down. It could be rooting for your main character to overcome their stage fright. Whatever it is, we want something that your reader can root for, and that will carry into chapter 2 as well. If we have something that we know we're rooting for, either in the overall story or in the short term, like, yeah, girl, you go mosey on down that street and run into Mr. Handsome. We can root for that because we do know that she's got that on the back of her mind, that she is gonna go say hello to him. Or with our volleyball player, we're rooting for her to find some way to get in that tournament because she doesn't have her shorts and we don't know what she's gonna do, but we are rooting for her because we have that connection. We know it's important to her and it is therefore important to us. And then the very last question is really kind of a culmination of all of the others. But I want you guys to really articulate what is the strongest reason a reader will keep reading at the end of chapter 1. So that is all of your homework questions. A few tips that I want you guys to remember is that we can build tension in 2 ways. It is either through that suspense of your reader not knowing what's going to happen, or the anticipation. The suspense is like the volleyball player, right? Or the anticipation of knowing what is going to happen and just really looking forward to it. So we know Mr. and Mrs. McDreamy are going to run into each other as she goes out on her walk, and we're just really looking forward to seeing it. And then lastly, the thing that I want you guys to avoid should be pretty apparent by now, but it's really just that I don't want you going into chapter 2 without the reader having any idea what to expect, because if they are blind at the end of chapter 1, they don't know what's coming next, you have lost so much of the potential to make sure that they make it to chapter 2. And you got to remember, you know, if you have 1,000 people reading this, a lot of them will read on, but a percentage of that 1,000 will stop at the end of chapter 1 if they're not hooked. And depending on how much anticipation you put in, that is going to determine what percentage of that 1,000 people who read your book go on to chapter 2. So that is everything that I have for you guys. I just want to say thank you again for joining me. This has been a really fun challenge. I hope that you guys have really enjoyed it. I've actually used a lot of this to work on my first chapter for my next series, and it's actually making these videos for you guys is always really helpful for me too. So I just want to thank you for being part of this community. Remember, we have other challenges. I will link them at the end of this video, so please take a look at those if you've enjoyed this one. And I just want to say thank you one more time. Subscribe to this channel if you haven't already. And I hope that you have enjoyed all of the videos in this 5-day first chapter challenge.